Hi, today I want to work on some abstract watercolors and talk about bringing in some mixed media materials and just sharing a really fun and mindful process with you. So let's hop inside and get started. So for the last week or so, I've been really working on a lot of very realistic drawing and painting, and so I feel a need to do something more intuitive and mindful. And so today I'm going to be working on doing some abstracts, and I'm going to start with no plan. So I'm going in with some Gansai paint and some really beautiful colors, and I have some mixed media ready. I have a black ink pen, a white ink pen, some Inktense, but I haven't really decided. I have a few Neocolor 2s out. I'm just not sure really what I'm going to do yet. I just have everything all ready to go. I have some gold watercolor, Daniel Smith powdered watercolor that I might use. I just don't really have a plan. So I want to go in and just be very open and free and intuitive and do like kind of a mindful abstract in watercolor. So I am going to proceed without any kind of planning. I'm just going to give these guys a quick squish to reactivate them. And then I am just going to start painting. And I may pre-wet parts of this just to give myself a little flow. I mean, I could do that with the spray bottle too, but I think I want a little bit more. I want some dry areas and some areas that aren't so dry. And one of my favorite ways to start these when I have no plan, no idea, and it's going to be abstract, is just to pick a color that calls me. So I say, what color is calling me? And today I'm just really in the mood for soft colors. Like I'm looking for something really soft, and these pink colors on this palette. I'm using the Art Nouveau Gansai Tambi, Kuretake Gansai Tambi set, and I really love that. And then I have this set of 24. I just really like Gansai watercolor. So I'm going to just put some of these colors down, and then I say to myself, now what color is calling me? And so I can go back in and maybe, I don't know if that's too intense. I might, sometimes Gansai can be really thick like wash, and sometimes it acts more like watercolor if you thin it down a little. But again, I just kind of want to get into some of these really beautiful pinky tones and see what I can have start develop. So going in without a plan, sometimes I'm just reacting to the colors and seeing what can happen. And I'm just going to drop some colors in. And then I say, well, now what color do I want to bring in? And so I have all this pink, so I might want to go in with something a little bit complementary for a dynamic kind of a pop. So I'm grabbing some of this kind of like almost like an aqua green color, because I know it'll give me that little bit of a dynamic pop of color here that I'm looking for. And, you know, again, really not a big plan yet. No plan. Just letting the colors do their thing. There's also like this kind of a green gold, maybe. Bring in some of that. Oh, I love the way that looks. This is kind of a different sort of a green that maybe I can bring in. more yellow green. One is very cool and one is very warm. Let's see if I can get some movement here. I do like a little bit of dripping sometimes on my paint. Let's see if I can get anything to drip here. There we go. Yeah, I love the way that looks. And let's see. A little bit tempted to get some salt effect going here in some of these really wet areas. I might sprinkle just a little bit, tiniest amount of salt, because I do like sometimes the granulation from the salt and it looks really pretty. You can really overdo it though, so I'm being very careful not to do that. Then I'm thinking I might want to add, I'm going to go back into some of these areas just to get them a little wetter, because I want to add, in some of these areas, I'd like to see some water blooms. And in order to have the water blooms really come out nicely, you have to have those areas have to be pretty wet with pigment. And so I'm gonna re-wet some of these areas a little bit and then come back in and add in some water blooms. Now the water blooms are very similar to like an alcohol bloom, except they're not as, they're not quite as dramatic, but they do look fabulous. So I like to, and it's just really adding drops of water into the wet paint, and it kind of makes a really interesting effect. And you just add those little droplets and let them do their thing. And so once I get it to this point, I kind of think I have enough color down. I sprinkled a little salt. I sprinkled my water blooms on. Now we have to just be patient. Some of this has to dry on its own, especially the salt before it can be removed. So I'm gonna just leave this, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna work on the next layers. Okay, so now this is dry, and I'm gonna take off my salt. We got some really nice salt effect going here. So I'm not sure if you can see. We have some really beautiful salt effect. We have some nice water blooms happening. So we have a very interesting start with the pale pinky tones and the aqua blue and the gold green. So I think what I'd like to do is add in a little bit of this lemony yellow color. Now the lemony yellow is going to probably read more green, I think, but very often I love this color because I feel like it adds kind of a glow to things. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this and see if it picks. I always feel like this lemon yellow adds like a little pop, and it makes all the colors around it kind of glow and sing. And I'm just going to dance some of this into some of the areas on this and see what happens. I really love just a little bit of an addition of this sometimes to certain color schemes, because I really feel like it adds something, you know. And then I might add just a little more of this really pale pink, which I really love. Okay, and so when you're working with any kind of an ink pen, and I think black ink and watercolor are like a natural combination, you have to make sure everything is bone dry because it will destroy your ink pen. So you either have to let it dry or make it dry with a blow dryer. So right now I'm going to just take a minute and I'm going to blow dry. So this project can be done with traditional watercolor, and I'm using Gansai today. And I do really love the Gansai paint. It's really vibrant and it's somewhere in between gouache and watercolor, but it's actually neither. Because it actually is formulated in a different kind of way. So on my channel, I have a video that talks about those differences. So if you're a person who really loves working with Gansai and you want to learn more about it, I will link in the description box below to that video if you want to learn a little bit more about Gansai. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at a couple of things, because what I want to do is create a little design on top of this using my ink pens. So I have a white one and a black one. I think I'm going to start with the black. And today, there's a lot of different things I use for inspiration. Sometimes I use fabrics because I really love different textiles, and I really like organic forms and shapes. So sometimes I'll use vintage fabric scraps, and today I thought I would pull some inspiration from some of this vintage handmade lace, because I really love the intricacy of the stitches and things. So I have a couple of pieces here of handmade antique lace. I have quite a bit of this stuff, and I really find it really intriguing and really beautiful. So I'm going to make a little drawing on top. Now I know this can be scary if you're not comfortable with drawing, but if you don't take chances with your work, sometimes you're never going to grow and expand. So what I like to do is sometimes just do a little design. If you think of it as a design and not a thing, sometimes it can be a little bit easier. And so I'm going to just do a very simple kind of a little design on this picture, and then maybe I'll add some more mixed media elements and see where it leads. Now this is a very mindful process, so this is I think the fun part, right? So we have the base of the watercolor down. It's very abstract, but now we can bring in some other elements and kind of liven it up with maybe a little bit of drawing. This is the part of abstract art making that is truly mindful and relaxing. So don't obsess over it. Try not to overcomplicate things. Just enjoy the process of making art. Allow yourself to just be in the moment and let things evolve in a natural sort of way. Don't put any pressure on yourself, and just try to enjoy each moment as it comes and just relax into the process. Stay in the moment and allow your piece to evolve one mark at a time. So next I'm grabbing my white paint marker, and it's kind of like a Posca marker. It's almost like a paint marker. You have to really shake it up and then get it to flow a little bit, but it adds some really lovely details, and I'm adding some mark making in certain places, and it's just another layer, and it's just really fun to add in all the additional mark making, and just continue to build upon what's already there and add some interesting layers to this piece. I'm working now with a little Inktense pencil in kind of a cherry red color that blends in pretty nicely with some of the pinks and reds that I used in this underpainting. And it's just, again, just really adding some extra details, additional layering and mark making into this little abstract. It's really fun just to get in there and add all these extra details. And I am dipping this to activate it, and you can also use these dry. They're just wonderful. Now I'm mixing up some of my Daniel Smith powdered gold watercolor, which is one of my favorites, and I'm going to just do some final touches with that. I will be linking in the description box below to the materials I've used in this video, including the paper, which is just a lovely deckle-edged 100% cotton paper, which I like for small projects like this. Sometimes I really like adding the gold touches at the end, and gold and metallic watercolors are pretty easy to find. I hope you have fun creating some expressive abstracts.